Swole Benji here. Today I'm going to talk to you about life staff tips, tricks, and mistakes that you might be making while using the life staff, but also I'm going to talk about the void gauntlets as well, because this is your healer offhand that has 2 healing abilities for you, your party, your war, your group, whatever it is you may be doing. So let's get right into the tip. Alright, let's talk about gear for just a little bit. Now, out of all the classes and all the builds in the game, the healer is the hardest to do a budget build on because there just isn't enough named rare drops that you can go farm to have very powerful healing gear. So, but there are a few. I'm going to talk about them real quick. Okay, so mainly your weapon. Go ahead and get your faction vendor weapon. It is going to have the best perks possible, and you won't have to worry about crafting double coin flips, okay? So not only does it have plus focus, which is all you want as a healer, you don't want any other stat. It has blessed, which is mandatory for your weapon. If you don't have blessed on your weapon, you will be significantly healing so much less. And then refreshing move is what's going to help you reduce your cooldowns, because as a healer, you will be spamming your left click very often, trying to heal allies, hitting the enemy in between healing your allies when they're topped off. And as you hit the enemies, you do have a passive on your weapon mastery that will lower the cooldowns of all your heals, and this weapon helps you do just that as well. But I want to talk also about armor. Now, to do your armor crafting, you want to have plus focus and nothing else on the armor, so use prayer beads while crafting them. You either want light armor or heavy armor, because when you are in light armor, you get 30% additional heals. When you are in heavy armor, you are much harder to kill in wars or learning in-game dungeons like Lazarus, which once you learn the dungeon, you don't need the heavy armor anymore. You can just dodge roll everything. It's pretty simple. You also want refreshing, which is cooldown reduction on every piece of armor you can. And finally, the last 2 useful skills, if you choose to use them, are Splash of Light and Sacred Ground on your armors, because with Splash of Light, it gives your tank essentially 14 stamina, and with Sacred Ground, it applies Fortify to anyone standing it, which is absolutely amazing. So, with that said, let me just go over a little bit more about crafting, because a lot of people are very scared of crafting. They don't want to hit the coin flip rolls. By using a prayer bead, you will always get focus on your items, so you don't have to worry about that coin flip. The only other coin flip you have to worry about getting is refreshing. Now, let me tell you my experience. On average, it took me 11 crafts of each slot to get refreshing on the equipment. So what I did was, I had about 2,000 Azoth worth of vials. I had 1,000 on my character maxed out, and then 1,000 in vials. And what I would do is I would just craft 5 of each piece of armor, and then look them over, and then I would lock the ones that had refreshing on it, and then salvage the rest or see if they were worth anything. And like I said, on average, like to complete my entire set here, and yes, it is low gear score because I am not high in armor crafting. I don't have an armor crafting item set. All I did was eat a spicy cabbage, which is completely fine, okay? The difference between 500 and 600 gear score healer gear is that you will have 4 extra focus more than I do per gear piece, so you'll have 20 more focus total, which is a good amount. You'll have slightly more armor, but who cares, it's light armor. And your refreshing will be, I think, 3% instead of 2.5. I could be wrong on that. It might be like 2.7, 2.8, something like that. But that's the only difference. This gear is gear that you will be using. You don't want the hybrid PvP reward gear for your armor, because you cannot get it strictly as focus. It will give you Constitution, which will lower your overall healing, and it's pretty easy to craft. On average, 11 crafts per equipment slot is how long it'll take until you get a coin flip and hit refreshing. Alright, the reason you want refreshing is so you can cast more heals more often. Now let's talk about the amulet, ring, and earring. Again, you only want focus on these, which I don't have it on the ring, unfortunately. They're too expensive on my server. There's like 1 or 2 guys that craft jewels, and they charge like thousands and thousands for any high stat rolled rings with garbage mods on them. So, as you can see here, I just have a 20 focus amulet. I don't have any mods on it. Earring, I do have refreshing on the earring, and for the ring, it's just leeching and keen awareness, which you don't really need. You don't need leeching, and you don't need keen awareness on your ring. You don't need crit as a healer. Your spells can't crit. Your light attacks can, yeah, sure, your light attacks can crit, but you only have a crit modifier of 1.2, which means your crits only deal 20% more damage. It's not a lot. So you don't have to really worry about critting unless you want to do some solo stuff with a Void Gauntlet as your DPS. Run around, smash things while staying fully healed. That's totally fine. That's kind of what I was going for anyway. But having this gear set up will allow you to heal Lazarus just fine. The cooldown reduction is very important. Now finally, for your Void Gauntlet, you do want focus. Because, here's the cool thing. Look, now, ignore my stats. I'm still spec'd for strength, for mining, and constitution for a little bit of tanking, okay? I am not heal spec'd right now. All of my focus points are coming from my equipment. I have none allocated, so ignore this. Ignore this. If you are playing a healer, you will put every single point into focus. Alright. So, what was I saying? Oh, yes. Okay, so check out my focus points. 214, and I have my life staff out, right? Your offhand weapon gives you the stat points, okay? So I'm at 214 focus. I take that off. I'm at 189, right? So, of course, you want to have both weapon slots be purely focus. Now, at the same time, you see the shield. It has 9 con and 4 strength. Well, let's look at my constitution. It's 62. I'm going to put the shield on. And it's still 62. So don't wear a shield. And another reason why you shouldn't wear a shield, check it out. Look at my light armor. I am getting that 30% healing bonus. But if I want to look like a dork and wear a shield, then I'm at medium armor, and I lose that bonus of having light armor. So don't wear the shield. Don't ever wear a shield, okay? That's pretty simple. Just a little tip for you. As far as consumables go, you can use the regenerating, or it's energizing food, because the energizing food will give you that 1% life regeneration too. Also, if you can get regeneration on your amulet, that's really, really good as well. So combined with those, you'll have a pretty nice passive heal. Your weapon mastery also gives you a passive heal when you are attacked every 2 minutes, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But other than that, just having a regeneration potion and a health potion to just chug, and then a mana potion, which is not pictured here. Again, I just threw this gear on for the video. I will spec healer at some point and get some footage for that, but it's really hard to find dungeons if you aren't a tank on my server, which that's what I've been doing. So you do want a mana potion at some point on your bar, which you don't really need at all if you don't want to, but it is one of those like clutch moments where you might have to chug a potion and throw out heals. But otherwise, let's just throw out all my spells here real quick. Alright, because the Void Gauntlet, look at my mana, it's at 10. I can't heal anything, I can't cast any spells. You just hold on, let me cancel that that ability. I just hold left click, or right click, or I can tap right click to do it faster. And look at that, I get all my mana back. And you may say, well, you just hurt yourself in the process. So what? Just heal it back, it's fine. Also, when you're at full mana, the Void Gauntlets have a dodge heal, so that's nice. I'm going to talk about that too. But mana is not really a problem anymore, and in dungeons, it's not like World of Warcraft where everyone's life bars drop down to 10% because the boss did an AoE attack, okay? Even in Lazarus, that doesn't happen, unless people are very undergeared, or you've let a certain fight go on way too long until they've stacked a ton of damage, which you shouldn't do. There is so many answers to healing in this game and mana that you shouldn't even need a mana potion unless you're trying to do some kind of clutch epic play stuff. Alright, so another tip too is that you want to be very aware of all of your surroundings, and this was I have a tank video on my channel. I make videos every day, go check it out. Go to your settings and go to visuals and change your field of view all the way as high as it can go. The reason you want to do this is so that you can see more around you. So check it out. Let's pretend this target dummy, this one right here, that one right there, that guy, that he is my ally, okay? And I'm not paying attention to life bars, okay? So right now, with maximum field of vision, I can see him, or pretend he's a monster chasing me, and I can see that monster. All right, but if I have my field of vision at the default, which is 50, check it out. Now I can't see him anymore. He is not on my screen. I have no idea if I'm about to get hit by a charge attack, or if that person is low on health. So that's why you always want to play with it at 70, unless, the only exception is if you're a musket player. If you're a musket player, it makes targets much smaller on your screen and harder to shoot. That's about it, okay? But the awareness, honestly, for me, is worth it. Once you start playing, it may look a little fisheye at first. Once you start playing it like this, you never want to go back. It is so much more just easier to play this game, alright? Let's talk about some more stuff. Alright, let's talk about the life staff weapon masteries, okay? So, generally, if you are in a war, the 3 skills you will mostly use are Sacred Ground, Orb of Protection, and what did I just sell? I don't know what I sold, the game doesn't tell me. And Beacon. The reason why is because all of these spells can target people outside of your 5-man group. And that is super important in wars. Also in the open world, if you happen to see someone fighting that's on your faction, of course, in your PvP flag, you can toss them a heal with one of these very easily and efficiently. This Divine Embrace, it's a targeted heal. This is a targeted heal as well. And this one only heals your group members. And we're going to talk about all that stuff in just a little bit, but for open world PvP roaming and wars, you definitely want to have Orb of Protection, Sacred Ground, and Beacon. And once you learn how to heal, you can completely heal Lazarus with these abilities. You don't ever really need any of these. If you have a tank that's new, or a tank that's undergeared, or a tank that just isn't really good at managing their stamina, then you will absolutely need Splash of Light and Light's Embrace, and I'm going to talk about that later. Right now, I want to talk about some perks. Do not copy what I have chosen here. I have chosen these perks for this specific video to tell you about them, okay? So the first one I just want to warn you about is Protector's Touch. This says that when you do a light or heavy attack, you get 15% Fortify. That sounds pretty cool. 3 seconds is not a lot of time, but when you combine it with Glowing Focus, which is 20% longer, and you combine it with the Focus ability, 20% duration, you get a little bit more time, which is not bad, but here's the bad part about Protector's Touch. So here's some target dummies. I'm going to attack them right now, and I'm going to press tab to look at my buffs. 10% damage reduction. Hello? That is not 15%. This is supposed to give 15% when I do a light or heavy attack, and it only gave me 10%. But this is why I don't want you to pick this perk, okay? Because there's better ones here on the left side of the tree, which I'll talk about in a bit, but Beacon, or I'm sorry, Orb of Protection does give you a 10% Fortify as well. Now the cool thing is, you get this 10% Fortify, you attack the enemy, you now have both Fortifies. And yes, they do stack, and they stack kind of weird. So, get this, I let an enemy attack me for 100 damage. I cast Orb of Protection. The enemy now does 90 damage. Okay? Then I light attack an enemy while I have Orb of Protection. You would think, oh, so you'll take 80 damage. Incorrect. You actually take 65 damage. I don't know how the math adds up on that. So there is a possibility that the tooltip is wrong. So when I attack and I highlight the buff, it says reduced by 10%. But in the example I just gave you, we actually get reduced by 15%. But I don't know if that's because of, what is it called? Man, my brain just died. Fortify. Yes, that's what it's called. I don't know if that's because having 2 separate 10% suddenly makes the second one 15, or if it's just some sort of error somewhere. This game is full of bugs anyway. Alright, so that's why I don't recommend this one. Now, the other one is, well, of course, Glowing Focus. This only increases your life staff buff time, so let me tell you every single life staff buff you can give yourself. Dodge damage increase is a buff. If you have a buff, you heal for 10% more. Alright. This armor one, when you do a light attack, you get a buff. Now, this is a good one here, the Enchanted Justice. When you get hit, you cast an AoE heal over time spell every 2 minutes. So you can extend that for just a tiny bit, about 1 extra second, which is fine. The heal over time in Orb of Protection, which is called Recovery. That can be increased, but you cannot increase Beacon. You cannot increase Sacred Ground. Alright? So, don't worry about those, and then Intensify. Okay, so Intensify is when you do a heavy attack, you gain a healing buff, which stacks up to 3 times. You can see it down in the middle. It says ×3 on that little cross here. You can see it right here. Your healing is increased by 10%, and then it's ×3. When I have... What is it called again? When I have this one, Glowing Focus, it lasts just a bit longer. So this says for 10 seconds, but it should be 14. You can see it's 14 every time I refresh it. Alright, so that one actually works, but however, there's one that doesn't work. The dodge one, it kind of sort of works. This says 5 seconds when you dodge. Now check out my hotbar. I'm going to dodge, and boom, 7 seconds, right? And then it goes down. Now, here's the interesting thing, right? That first dodge, this does increase it. This absolutely does. But any dodge after that, it doesn't. So let me show you what I mean. So we're going to dodge. We're going to get the buff, 7 seconds. I'm going to dodge again. And now it's 7 seconds again. We're going to dodge again. 7 seconds again. So we're going to dodge. Hold on. It's actually working now. Come on, man. What? Yeah, there. See? It's only giving me 2 seconds per dodge. So 2 seconds to 3, down to 1 to 3, 1 to... See, it just went away that time entirely. Now it went all the way back up. This is buggy as hell. You'll have to play with it, but like 2 seconds, down to 3. It's supposed to go back up to 5 each time, but without this, it will go up to 5 each time. So this kind of busts your dodge. But if you just want to do it every 7 seconds, you can. But the reason why we don't want glowing focus and protector's touch is because we want to actually put that into desperate speed and divine blessing. Now let me tell you why we're not putting it into sacred protection, okay? The reason why is this only increases healing by 5%, but it only increases the healing by 5% for people in your group. So if they are not the 4 other people in your party, they don't get it. Sure, you can heal yourself for 5% more, but it's not worth the talent point. This one reduces cooldown by 10% if you heal someone below 50% health once every 5 seconds. Now, that may not seem like a lot, and it really isn't. And let me show you why. So, whenever you heal, you have the passive, which is on the left side of the tree here, which will reduce your life, It's going to reduce your ability cooldowns by 5%. Wow, I can't talk anymore. And then we have refreshing move, which reduces it by another 2.5. And then when you combine all of your armor pieces with refreshing on them, it actually adds up to 10% for some reason. So let me show you. I'm going to cast this. Okay, that's the wrong spell. I'm going to cast this one. It's a 30-second cooldown. Every time I hit these target dummies, I lose 3 seconds of cooldown, right? That's basically 10%. 3 seconds out of 30 is 3. So, it may not seem like much. I keep clicking the wrong thing here. It may not seem like much, but having this over a measly 5%, let me tell you how much 5% more healing is for Sacred Ground. It's 100 more health a second. I know that sounds like a lot. That's 100 more health a second when you're fully buffed. Wait, no, I'm doing the math wrong on that. It's it's about 100. When you have maximum focus, it's only 100. Okay. The thing is Sacred Ground is a full heal if someone stands in it the whole time. It's a huge heal. It's one of the bigger heals in the game. Of course, it has no match to. It cannot match Divine Embrace. It cannot match Light's Embrace when you have a buffed tank, obviously. But these have channeling times, and they are single target. Well, this one's kind of like a chain heal if everyone's wounded. I'm going to talk more about that in a bit. But the point is that this is far superior than this one for just general play. This one, of course, is 30% more healing if they are below 50% life. They don't have to be in your group. They can just be some random passerby. It is a pretty big, chunky heal. So, what about if you don't want to do wars, you don't want to do world PvP, and you don't want to do anything except dungeons? So let's talk about that now. Alright, so Light's Embrace, this is your heal for your tank. And the reason is because when you heal them, they will receive 25 stamina. Alright, and then of course you get some mana back, you can extend your buffs, which you should only have, or protection really, you won't have any other buffs to give to the tank other than that. Alright, but the main thing is you're going to spam this heal on the tank so that he gets stamina. You're also going to spam Splash of Light. Now, let's talk about the range for a sec. This heals everyone within 100 meters. Do you know how far 100 meters is? Let me show you how far 50 meters is. The range of your light attack is 50 meters, so it's double this. It's double this range. We can go on here, and we can just kind of click this little marker, and then turn around towards it, and that is almost 100 meters. So, about here? Yeah, that's 100 meters. So, from here to the lake, which you can't really see from here, is, like, let's just walk there. Let's just walk 100 meters. Alright, so we're walking. Look how much range this heal is, and I can't climb this tent anymore. They fixed it, apparently. Used to, you can mount up on the tent, and you can shoot over the wall. Guess not. Alright, so we're still running. And we're almost there. Okay. So from where we started to where we are now, that is 100 meters, and that's an entire circle around you, a whole big wide area. But it only heals your group members. And the thing about this heal is that you get mana back if they're wounded. It also cleanses them of 1 debuff, so if they're on fire, if they're bleeding, whatever. But when you have an armor perk that boosts Splash of Light, it heals 14 stamina. You combine this with Light's Embrace, and technically you would want to use Sacred Ground because that will also help regenerate stamina for your tank. So you have 3 stamina healing abilities. You basically keep your tank up. If anyone else needs healing, you just spam left click on them, or they get hit with the Splash of Light because that heals your whole party. That is what you would want to use for dungeons. You could also, instead of using Sacred Ground, you could also use Divine Embrace if your party is taking lots of AoE damage, because when everyone is below 50% life, it will heal an additional person within 8 meters. And let me show you just how big 8 meters is, okay? So for that, I'm going to demonstrate with Sword and Shield. Now, the Sword and Shield has an ability called Defensive Formation, which is 2 meters, okay? This is what 2 meters look like. So let's just use this little shrub right in front of me here, this little piece of grass. That's 2 meters, okay? And then that's 2 meters. And then that's 2 meters. And then the very end of this circle would be 8 meters. It's a very large encompassing circle that can chain around. And it's pretty darn useful, but there's not a lot of, like, you're basically a bad healer if your entire party drops below 50%. Or they're just face tanking the boss. I'm not sure exactly why that situation would arise. But also, you have this absolutely useless talent here called Refreshing Divine Embrace, okay? So if you actually heal someone below 50% life, the cooldown is reduced by 40%. You may think that that sounds amazing, but it's not. You see, because the cooldown with all of our equipment is, well, let me take off my Sword and Shield real quick and put that back on, because that's cheating the numbers just a bit, because my shield does have refreshing on it, and well, the sword has refreshing move, of course. So the real cooldown right now with all of our gear, which we still have 2 jewelry pieces to put on, is 5.1. 40% of that is it's not a lot, man. It's like less than 2. So by the time you start casting that spell, it's going to be put on cooldown. And by the time you finish casting the spell, you will have 4 seconds left. If you heal the person below 50% life, it will then be reduced to 2 seconds. Your light attack that hits, hopefully, the boss will then reduce it to 1 second. And then, technically, the spell has a 1 second cooldown. But it also costs, it costs like 20 mana, because you have this perk here that reduces it. So you're going to have to switch to your Void Gauntlet, and then you're going to have to frickin' do this. And the cool thing, too, is you could actually knock your life below 50%, and then you can self-heal, which will then chain to a person nearby. And that's another way you can use that ability. But if you're just using Splash of Light, which has a cooldown of 12 seconds, you basically activate this one here, and you're going to have this off cooldown a lot of the time. But this spell also suffers from a cast animation that takes 1 second to complete. And then the rest of the time you're spamming Light's Embrace, so that's to keep your tank's stamina up. If your tank knows what he's doing and knows how to move around and not hold right-click the whole time, you don't need Light's Embrace for any current content in the game. If they make something harder, then you will absolutely need it, but until then, you just don't need it at all. Alright, so let's talk more about perks and their ranges. So let's talk about Orb of Protection. It says here that it affects all allies within a 3-meter radius, okay? So this is what the circle looks like. I'm just going to shoot it directly at the ground at this little rock graphic here. You see this big stub in the ground? That's where I'm going to shoot it. So there's the circle size, okay? You've all seen it. Switch back to the Sword and Shield, which I can't because my skills are on cooldown. So let's set a target dummy and get our cooldowns back. Now remember, this is 3 meters. I believe it's 3 meters, right? 2 meters, okay, so 2 meters, yeah, that's right. So now when I stand on the shrub, look, it's the same size as the circle, okay? Same exact size. I'll even put this on my offhand and show you again. I'm gonna step off it and shoot it here. So that's the circle, and then we're gonna stand here, and then that's the circle. So you can see that it's exactly the same. So the tooltip lies just like this one lied. It is only 2 meters, so be aware of that. Now let's talk about Beacon. There's a cool thing you can do with Beacon, okay? So for this, I'm going to need the Void Gauntlet back, and just for OCD's sake, we're going to rearrange that. And now let's choke ourselves down to low HP. Just spam left click. You can also spam sheath and unsheath to do it even slightly faster, by the way, and which does grant mana. So there we go. We're on critical life. We're about to die. So here's the cool thing with Beacon, right? You can cast this anywhere, like so, and I'm not being healed. I can step in the circle and step out, and I get healed the entire time this circle exists. You do not have to stand inside of a beacon's circle. You just have to simply touch it, alright? Now, here's another cool thing with Beacon, or, I'm sorry, not a cool thing. So, let me just get my cooldowns back and show you exactly what I mean by Beacon. So, you may think that you don't need to stand inside of it to get the full heal, which is true. However, you only get the heal for as long as the beacon exists. So, we're gonna cast this on the ground, and there's the beacon, right? So, now I'm going to wait until the last second before this thing disappears and step inside of it. There we go, we got the heal. And then the beacon disappeared and our healing stopped. So while just touching the beacon gives you the heal over time, you don't have to stand in it. It only heals you over time as long as the beacon exists. Now, about that, there is this talent right here. Beacon lasts 5 seconds longer. That sounds pretty darn cool, right? 5 entire seconds means 5 whole seconds of healing. Is it worth the talent point? No. And here's why. When you put a point into this one, this increases your beacon's cooldown by 5 additional seconds. Alright, so it evens out. There's no reason to have that for 5 additional seconds of healing if it takes 5 seconds longer to cast again. And let me just show you with my current gear set, I can cast Beacon there, and then I can do my light attack spam and look at my cooldowns. Alright. Now, here's the awesome thing. I can cast another beacon on top of my beacon, because my gear allows me to do that, and if I had the 2 jewelry pieces with refreshing on them, I could do it slightly faster. So there you go. If I was to choose that talent, I would have to do 3 more light attacks. 3 more light attacks to get my beacon off cooldown again, and by then, people might not even be near the original circle. You don't need that talent. That talent is an absolute trap. And then, of course, the last one gives people haste. Who cares about haste? There's no reason to bother with haste. It's only 20% for 3 seconds. If you have this talent and your focus, it's 5 seconds. So what? It's not a big deal. I guess you could cast it at your feet, and then you can run fast for 5 seconds. Or you could just light armor dodge roll, which I have my shield on, so I can't do that. Let's get that shield back off again. It's kind of annoying to wear, since we don't have the sword anymore. And I'm going to talk about Void Gauntlet in just a bit, guys. It's okay, it's fine. A few more things with the Life Staff, too. A lot of people think Enchanted Justice is garbage, because it only heals you for 8% weapon damage for 6 seconds. Okay? It's actually about 7 seconds or so with your focus perk, but it's 8% when you're buffed up and when you have more focus. This thing heals you from 3 to 6,000. Alright, and also, if you look at my weapon here, I have a 15% damage while at full HP. Damage and healing, right? It's the only gem that gives you bonus to healing, okay? So, if you get tickled by something, you don't even have to think or worry about healing yourself. But if you have Orb of Protection and you hit an ally, you automatically get that heal over time too. That's going to keep you topped off. Also, what people don't realize is that this is a 4-meter radius of healing for you and your allies. Which, remember, I can bring up the shield again and show you what 2 meters looks like, and then do that twice, and it's about 4 meters. So that's like 4 meters all around you, and it's pretty good. It's automatic. You don't have to think about it. And it's better than Sacred Protection, okay? It's absolutely better than that. Alright, what else do we have? Let's see, that's cooldown reduction. Now, here's the thing, too. This one is kind of iffy. If you have Splash of Light, it's final perk, you don't need Mending Touch. You just don't need it. Used to, you could Mending Touch the ground, and you could debuff yourself. You can't do that anymore. So that one, you might be able to replace that one if you want, but I don't really need it. Like, there's really no debuffs in the game, except for a few burning ones in PvP that you want to debuff. And most of the time, it's better just to heal the target through the damage, if you can. Alright, I think that about covers the Life Staff now. Let's see now. Beacon, we talked about Beacon and the bugs. We talked about those. You don't need mana when you block. You don't need to pick any of the mana perks. This one, 3% mana regeneration to you and your group members. That is the worst perk in the entire game. You can eat a food and get 30%. There's no reason to ever pick this. Never ever choose this. Alright, and then if you get hit, you gain haste. Whoop-de-doo. You don't need it. Okay? And that pretty much covers it for the life staff. Now, let's talk real quick about the Void Gauntlets, okay? So, right here, Orb of Decay, that is your healing spell. And there is a wrong way to do this, okay? So, if you aim at the ground, if you look at the ground a lot, well, that's bad because the healing orb just kind of goes up. You don't have a wide area to aim. You want to aim forward or maybe even slightly up. And you want to be around your group members or maybe even shoot at you want to shoot through your tank, hit the boss that he's fighting. So, when it comes back, it heals your tank and it heals you or anyone within a line of you and the boss, which most people are going to be at range or in melee. So you just kind of want to just chunk it at your melee, and that's going to heal everybody. And it's a pretty darn good heal. It's a heal over time. Now, let me just talk about 2 perks that you don't want. First one is Slowing Orb. Don't pick this. You don't need this. You don't need this for PvP. It sucks. It is not reliable at all. Don't bother with this one. The next one is Detonating Orb. Now, the reason you don't want this, let's say you're panicking, right? You're a high APM gamer, and you're mashing that button. So this is what happens when you mash the button in a frenzy. Okay, it just blows up in your face, and no one gets healed. But there's another reason why you don't want to pick it, and I'm just going to wait for my cooldowns here, and I will show you exactly, okay? So, we're going to time the explosion, because you can use it offensively or defensively. Let's use it defensively, which, when you blow it up, it's going to do an AoE heal for you and your team. So I actually missed that time. That's one reason why you don't want to do it. But let's just say after a few practice sessions, you know, some warm-ups before you go into your dungeon, that you have it down and you can nail your party members with it, okay? Look how much it heals. So that healed for 935, and I actually did that perfectly because I let it hit me before blowing it up. But most of the time, you won't. So let me talk about that too. Let's throw another one out there, just try to get it. Alright, so that time it only healed for 935, okay? That's not a lot. That's when you have more focus, it's going to heal for way more. But here's the reason why you don't want to do that, okay? Just letting the orb pass through you heals for way more over time, okay? It heals way more than 900. Now, the way you're supposed to do this is some hyper skill thing, where what you do is you throw it, you run forward, when you run through the orb, then you blow it up and you heal yourself, so you get the 900 heal and the damage over time. That is not worth the 2 points required to put into it at all. It's just not worth it. They are better spent here reducing the mana cost, so you don't have to suck yourself as much, and then having this one here that reduces cooldowns while sucking. Alright, which is this thing here. This is where you hold your hand to your neck and your character gets all grossed out and hates it. That's what I'm referencing, okay, guys? But the other heal, too, is this ability right here. A lot of people don't realize that this is a heal. This ability, Essence Rupture. The last one, Overflowing Essence. Whenever you throw it on a target, after 10 entire seconds, it's going to do a small area of effect heal, about the size of an untalented beacon, which I also kind of forgot to talk about. So you see that small circle? It's kind of like having beacon, but this beacon's a little bit bigger. And the reason my beacon is bigger is because of this talent. I think this is absolutely worth it. This lets more people touch the beacon, especially if it's a really big boss with a small, like, leg hitbox. It's a little weird to explain, but the more people you heal, the better. But you just tag the mob with that. You can swap weapons, and this will still explode and heal. But I need to hurt myself real quick so I can show that off. And then after 10 seconds, when the debuff runs out, boom, there's your heal. And so that's basically a free tank heal. So what you do as life staff, you do light attack into ability, light attack into ability, light attack into ground cast. Then the tank is pretty much set. You throw this out, you throw that out. Everyone attacking the boss now heals themselves by 20% lifesteal. After 10 seconds, this debuff will explode and heal your tank. You can throw this out as much as you want. That's going to heal everyone in a line over time. You also have this. You can be tossing out your left click heals if anyone got tickled by a spell or an attack. You can also throw a beacon down for people to just kind of run through, touch it, and reposition. It's not a big deal. You generally want to always keep Sacred Ground on your tank because that regenerates their stamina when they're not holding right click. You can also cast it on yourself if you really want a big, powerful heal, but it's generally not needed. Now, if you're just clearing trash, you pop out the Void Gauntlet and you just start slashing. You just start going to town. Because after 6 hits, you get this big circular AoE. This heals your allies and hurts enemies. And this will deal way more damage when you have all focus. And you may be thinking, oh, you're putting yourself in danger. Don't do that. No, trash mobs are not a danger. Trash mobs are just like going to Merc Guard and fighting the regular mobs. They're nothing special. They're not super hyper dangerous. The bosses are, but the regular trash mobs in a dungeon are not. You have nothing to fear. Go up and just start smashing them. You'll clear the dungeon much faster. And of course, if someone gets hurt, you know, you can just throw out a heal. You can also tag the mobs so everyone heals. You can just throw out your heals. They're all AoE heals. Look at that. We got this whole line covered. Okay, and then just top them off. You know, in between looting, just get your mana back up. Simple as. It's very, very easy, very real gameplay, okay? But let me talk about a few other pitfalls, too. When doing solo content with Void Blade, this one here, this one that says, successful thrust attacks heal you for 5% damage per disintegrate. So, you can't see it on the target dummies, but every time you hit them, they get this little damage over time, like, tick, right? And it keeps going up to 3 times. So when they have 3 of those, and then you do a thrust attack, which is your charged heavy, it's supposed to heal 15% life. But it does not work. It does not heal the 15% life. So it's a completely busted waste of talent. This used to, oh, that's Ice Gauntlet. It used to work, but it no longer does. So do not pick this at all. Alright, and then of course, you don't need Petrifying Stream for dungeons, and for PvP, it's kind of meh. You can use Oblivion if your tank is in learning mode and you want to give him some stamina, but that requires you being close to the boss, and a lot of bosses in Lazarus and Genesis do very large AoE attacks, so you don't want to be that close. It's really not worth it, especially if you're in light armor and you're not paying attention with your dodge rolls. Speaking of dodge rolls, when you're using the Void Gauntlet and you have full mana, you can dodge roll and get a ton of your life back. I only healed 1,335 there, but when you have over 400 focus, that's going to be about a 3,000 HP heal, and you can do that very, very often, almost all the time. So you can just heal over time yourself while you're running to the next mob pool. You can do a quick roll, which I can do it in 3 seconds here, and basically get your life back. Very, very efficient healing on the move. And then instead of, well, let me show you the Void Gauntlet again. That's Ice Gauntlet. Okay, so instead of putting the point here, I would rather put the point here in Humility for 10% crit chance while all abilities are on cooldown. Now, if you look at my cooldowns here, you can see that they have quite some good cooldowns, but once I get Refreshing Move on the Void Gauntlet, then I'm going to get that R back very quickly, and what that's going to do is let me throw out more heals more of the time, right? So I can throw out more heals, I can throw out more Fs, I can recast the Q, continue attacking here, just more heals, and then when I get low on mana, what I can do is just cancel the Void Blade, hold right click or tap right click a few times, re-enable the Void Blade, and then continue dealing lots of damage and dealing lots of heals. And like I said, it's even faster once you have Refreshing Move, and you should have Blessed as well. I do not have that. I just bought this out the market for the focus. That's it. I can't. There's not even a tier 5 bench on my server to craft one right now, so I can't really work on that. Alright, and that just about covers it. Of course, instead of having the slowing orb and the detonating orb, you should put that into Radiant Efficiency and Refreshing Harvest. Because while you're regenerating your mana, that's going to reduce your cooldowns as well. Having cooldown reduction is the key to winning dungeons very fast and efficiently in this game. Alright, and look at that. See, I hit him 6 times. That's a self-heal. The orb you throw out is a self-heal. When you tag the mob and you're attacking them, you're healing tons and tons of life every single swing. And even with light armor in Lazarus against a trash mob, they won't kill you. They just won't kill you. It's simple as. Also, when crafting, use the infused silk, like the robe, infused silk robe, gloves, robe, well, robe gloves, robe pants, etc. Because that gives you more defense down here. Way more than just the regular silk. So, that's pretty much it, guys, for the life staff tips, tricks, and mistakes. I'm SoulBenji, thanks for watching. As always, be everyone, stay swole. I will see you in tomorrow's video. I make a video every single day. Take care, lads.